Your Honor, I'm here to file for divorce from my husband, Enzo Fiormonte, on the grounds of extreme cruelty. I know you've read the papers and I know what you're going to say. A man half your age leaving you for a younger woman does not qualify as extreme cruelty, Mrs. Fiormonte. Oh, and that's another thing. I wish to petition to change my name. Madeleine Astor Dick, I know that it's a little long, but make it work and make it quick, and then we'll get to what went wrong. Mrs. Astor Dick, still not as long as it could be. I tried, but I just couldn't pick. Each one is a part of me. Force was father, strong and bold, and I until 18 years old, when all that mattered was climbing the ladder of high society. Groomed and governed all my life to one day be a rich man's wife. And while I'm still young to reach the top rung, but forget about variety. Mrs. Astor Dick is ready for her new debut. Which box do I have to tick? We both had other things to do. Mrs. Astor Dick kinda takes my breath away. He said I couldn't cherry pick. He said he'd have the final say. Now I had suitors, yes I did, like Bill Dick since I was a kid. But Colonel Astor moved a lot faster, such fire when we kissed. He was old enough to be my dad, but the papers made it sound so bad. So just as I'd begun, I was flung off the rung and the list, and now I don't exist. You know the Social Register? It's this little semi-annual publication where they put your name if you're somebody. A somebody who is not about to marry a divorced man who is twice her age. If you're not in there, you might as well be dead. Mrs. Astor Dick, no force alone would never do. Mrs. Astor Dick, you see I've done a thing or two. Mrs. Astor Dick, they say a lady has just one, but I have built this brick by brick, and only I know when it's done. But it didn't matter, I was the new Mrs. Astor. We went on an overseas honeymoon to escape the press and came back on a little ship called the Titanic. Maybe you've heard of it. You've also probably heard that there was no room for him on the lifeboat. I came home a pregnant widow to a $5 million trust. Mine so long as I remained the new Mrs. Astor until my dying day. Except I wasn't ready to be dead. So I wed Willie Dick. Oh God, that name. Lots of warmth, but not much flame. But now I'm back on the list and back in the game, where they're cold and they're hot. You're gold and you're lead. Do what you're told or it's off with your head. And now I'm 40 years old and still not ready to be dead. Enter Enzo. He was a dark and handsome Italian prizefighter whom my husband had hired to teach boxing to our sons. Pause for irony. Enzo and I went to Reno for my divorce. After we were married, he turned to me and said, "Darling, what are we going to do about your name?" You see, the papers liked referring to me as Mrs. Astor Dick Fiormonte, which drove him mad. He thought they were mocking him. He insisted I should only be Mrs. Fiormonte. I agreed. Madeleine Madeleine Astor, Madeleine Dick, Madeleine Fiormonte, will the real Madeleine arise? Madeleine Madeleine Astor, Madeleine Dick, Madeleine Fiormonte, how can all of them be me? Yet not a single one applies. The Social Register didn't like all of those names either, and once again, there was no room for someone like me on the list. I was removed. Who needs them telling me what to do? I had Enzo. Enzo, how he loved me so, until I started saying no. Now he's only pleasant when others are present. Still I don't want to see. Now he started throwing stones. He breaks my heart, then breaks my bones. He grabs my hair and calls me a whore. Says it's all my fault, unless I want more. I should beg on my knees or he's out the door. So what's it gonna be? And I said, Mrs. Astor Dick, that is how I will be known. Your name always made me sick, and now we'll die with you alone. Mrs. Astor Dick, that's the name that they'll recall. Mrs. Astor Dick, it's like you never